Jim Nill, and we didn't have time to cut all the things, but he had a bunch of comments in today's availability about as he starts a new search. He said he's going to be patient and extensive. It's not a, he said we have a list because they hired Pete 3 years ago, so they had some other candidates they consider. They might recirculate some of those. They might look internally with the assistant coaches that they have. I thought that was an interesting comment he made, is that the Stars assistants all have one more year left, and he anticipates they'll be there. That would be Steve Spott, Elaine Nazardine, Misha Donskov. I don't know if that includes Jeff Reese, because I know they love him, and obviously that he's really important for Jake Ottinger.
Yes,
Neil Graham with the Texas
coach.
Stars. Honestly, all these guys internally have great, skills and ability. What do you think about the idea of keeping them all? Because here's the thing. Anybody you hire, if they're from the outside, they're going to want somebody that they completely trust. It's not just, I'll take the job and you name your entire coaching staff, I'll just come in. Because while you might respect all of them, you need to have at least one guy has your back no matter what, and it isn't gunning for the succession plan.
I think you can always ask those guys and say, listen, let's just use Naz, for instance.
Sure.
We believe that Elaine Nazardine has done an unbelievable job with this decor. Here's our success rate in this area, and we would like to keep him. Are you open to that? And again, I think anything can be on the table. I think they just have to have a discussion. As far as the other guys go, I don't know. I don't know any of those guys. I don't know what their relationships are with the players. The only thing I think of, the biggest thing I guess I think of is, I don't know what you guys feel. What is the window? How long is the window open? I mean, we say the window's been open for a couple of years for this team to get to a finals and win a Stanley Cup. Is that window going to be open for another 3 years, 4 years? Some players are going to be gone, coming, things like that. To me, that makes a difference in the kind of coach you're going to get. I mean, are you going to go out and get a rookie? That's my thought. Are you comfortable? Because I know you're going to bring up Carle and some young guys. So are you comfortable with a guy?
Well, let's talk about David Carle in Denver.
Yeah.
He just turned down at least Chicago and maybe some other opportunities and doubled down with University of Denver. And you said that the comment he made about why he stayed really sticks with you. Tell me why.
I just think that's hard for him to turn back on that. Now, again, and Sean and I talked about Carle and all that kind of stuff, but I just don't. My thing about Carle, and everybody wanted him. He's the new Monty from the
correct,
right? Same
literally
program, blah blah blah. So he's the new Monty out there. So yes, he's going to be a great coach. But the reason, what I thought was the main reason, and Sean would be able to debate this or at least tell me what it is, was he felt it was unfair to the school because there were some of the recruits that had committed to going there. If he left, weren't going to go to that school, which is totally understandable since he's won a couple championships there, has probably a great relationship to the school. He doesn't want to leave the school and the players hanging. Now, if somebody like Jim Nill goes and they throw out a big contract at him, I just find that hard that a guy can make that statement and be that stand up about the kids and then bail. That's my only thing, which, hey, no, them offers were this offers this. So that, to me, just that one statement is the only thing for me that would hold me back from believing that Carle's going to come here.
Sean, you have an interview relationship with David Carle. Your thoughts on what Lud said and the possibility that Dallas is a different kind of destination and appeal compared to some of the teams that are rebuilding that have approached him before?
Yeah,
there he is.
There's a big difference between the Dallas Stars. I'm speaking. My face is frozen, so I'll just see what happens here. There's a big difference between a potential Dallas Stars job and a Chicago Blackhawks job. So let's call that what it is. There was no offer on the table before for David Carle. Leaving the Denver University for the Chicago Blackhawks doesn't really make too much sense. Leaving for the Dallas Stars, when you've said, I would like to go to the NHL someday, it needs to be the right opportunity. Is there a more right opportunity than the Dallas Stars? A team with an opportunity to win right away, a team with a nice large window with some top players. I know it's not necessarily maybe not a Stanley Cup window for 5 to 6 years, but at least you have that young talent that goes and gives you that long-term growth. And so this is a different offer than Carle was looking at before. There's a price for everything too, where I don't know exactly what David Carle's making. I can only guess it's probably a little bit over $1 million. I don't know for sure. Denver's a private school, so they can keep that private. I would guess, though, if you were to offer David Carle a matching 5-year deal and say $3.5–4 million, triple and quadruple his salary potential, that's you find the right words to tell the kids, hey, sorry, my assistant Denver, he's going to take care of you. So
That's a good
every
freeze
man
right
has
there.
every person has a price. Every person has a price. So
And let me ask you one quick follow-up. Is he worth that kind of massive investment?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. Sam, Neil Graham being tossed around because the Texas Stars have been very successful at winning games, being in the playoffs, and most importantly, developing players for the NHL's Dallas Stars. Thomas Harley, Jake Ottinger, more recently, of course, with Leon Bischel. Over the years, we've seen these guys make their way up from that. Does he move the needle for you?
Yes and no. I think he does. He deserves a shot on an NHL bench. I just don't know if it's head coach yet. I'll say that.
Why?
I think he deserves. There's not really a full reason. It's just that it's hard to know how someone's going to take that leap, right? We've seen a few guys that have done it well. We've seen a few guys that have come in, had a year from the AHL, come in an AHL bench, not do so well, and then be an assistant or go back to the AHL. So he is excellent at developing. He's gotten just great marks all the time from everyone that covers that team down there to everyone that's been up. And I was going to say up here, but I'm not in Dallas. In Dallas. But the main point for me, and the reason why I say yes as well to that, is because Dallas, everything Sean just said about Carle goes with Graham as well, to the fact that Dallas has a core of leaders already here. They don't have a team that if you come in, you're going to be the only voice, and you're going to have to find your leaders, and you're going to have to develop that core. They have their leaders, especially if they bring back Jamie Benn and or Matt Duchene. They have a bunch of guys that have been there. They have Mikko Rantanen signed for 8 years, who's won a cup and been there. They have the core there to lead the team, so he can worry about his job and finding the structure, the philosophies, the core values of the team, versus trying to develop leaders and try to balance all those things. I think that's really important, and I think that's why this job was, as Sean just said, going along with all those things, the fact that they can also win. That is also really important to a coach that will come in and be a young coach, because they maybe don't have as big of a learning curve as they would coming in. Even if it's a good team that doesn't have this sort of leadership and group here, this is a group that's ready to go. They're motivated to win. They've been here, even though they haven't been to the final. They've been to the Western Conference final 3 years in a row. It's a different job, and I think it's a good one for a young voice. I said it on our emergency pod today. I'm all for a younger, newer voice. I think that's the way to go. That's why.
You're just giggling at Sam.
I'm only giggling. I can't say anything about Neil Graham. You're better off asking me if Neil Young or Neil Diamond is a coach. I don't know Neil Graham, so I can give you a better reason there. But no, I just love Sam when he goes, yes and no.
Yes and no. He's right. So
yes and no.
Let me ask you about the other side of that.
Not going to be a GM of a team anytime soon.
I'm going to go to Sean in a minute about a younger, rising, or non-NHL experienced coach. I want to ask you about the experience. There's a bunch of guys out there, and this is common, and sometimes fans don't enjoy the recycling or retread of guys. But if you think you have a chance to win now, guys that are available, well, I don't know if Barry Trotz would leave being a GM to be a coach, so let's not mention him. But Peter Laviolette just got fired, but he has won a Stanley Cup with Carolina. John Tortorella has won a Stanley Cup. He's available. Alain Vigneault. I don't even know if I should bring up Mike Babcock, so we'll just move on past that. How about Gerard Gallant? Those are all some of the names that are out there of guys that have done it a lot. I mean, heck, even you could have Gabby himself, Bruce Boudreau. Like, there are a lot of guys with a lot of experience if that's the way you want. Is that the answer, or is it something else?
I guess I lean to something in between. And again, a guy that jumps off the page for me, again, is Steve Ott. And because he's been with an NHL club, he's been with NHL players, he's gone through a few different coaches there. So yes and no about Steve Ott.
He put up Steve's spot on the screen. So not Spot, but Ott.
No, not Spot.
We have a Steve
well,
Spot.
Who knows? Maybe Spotter's up for the running. I don't know.
For content alone, it has to be Steve Spott.
Can you imagine
That would be
The
amazing.
John,
t-shirts we would print.
what would you do if Steve Spott became the Stars head coach?
I mean, I wouldn't have to do anything. Like, the best piece of content that's come out of Dallas Stars content creators is this. So from the past year.
I think the reason I lean towards guys like Gallant and Steve Ott, he has not had an opportunity to be a head coach, but I think he's knocking on that door, is because of the player that they were and the way that they seem to handle, especially Gallant, because we've seen him coach NHL guys, and he's got this ability to be tough and mean, kind of like a Craig Berube. I mean, that would be you could get him, I would lean on that.
Tough, but also chill. Like, that's the weird thing about Chief.
I
He
think
knows
the
how
player,
to
the players
pull back.
respect it. I think when you look at a Berube, a Gallant, Ott, again, not all these guys know who these guys are, but they can know how they were when they were players and that they had success as coaching. You respect that kind of guy that can be tough on you because you know you deserve it. And you can be just as tough on the best players as you are on the middle of the road or the lesser players.
In the theme of the middle of the road, not the long-time experienced NHL coach, not the ones we don't have any. Sean, he mentioned Steve Ott. What about Carl Taylor, former Texas Stars assistant coach, now head coach in Milwaukee? What about Todd Nelson, former Dallas assistant coach, who all he does is win? If the conversation is Pete DeBoer is a great coach, but he's never been able to get that championship, Nelson has won everywhere he's been as a head coach. Except for the short stint in Edmonton.
NHL?
But
Okay.
he got a really raw deal with the Oilers. It wasn't exactly a full-on effort. Somebody there that we're forgetting.
I mean, Carl Taylor is one that I would definitely consider. I think Carl Taylor should get a call. He's been one of the best coaches in the AHL. And same thing with, I like Todd Nelson a lot. Nelson's been winning in Hershey and everything like that, and I realize my face is freezing and I don't really care, so I'm going to keep talking. Todd Nelson, one of the things about Todd is he hasn't owned some of his, for lack of a word, mistakes in the past, just when it comes to, like, yes, it was a raw deal in Edmonton, but there's times when it comes to Nelson, I think there's been a little bit of, he's got a bit of that curt personality that someone might have to deal with. So that comes into play, and that's one of the reasons he's probably still been in the AHL for a while. Carl Taylor is similar in a way, with a little bit of plays the game a little bit better, and that's one of the things when it comes to getting a job as a coach. You have to play the game the right way. I mean, I can't tell you how many times you talk to a minor league coach or a junior hockey coach, and they tend to buddy up with reporters because they want people to say nice things about them. So that's definitely a game that Carl Taylor probably plays a little bit better than Todd Nelson, so his name will be up there. I just wanted to really quickly just touch on, Sam was talking about Neil, and the thing about Neil Graham that's interesting to me when it comes to all of this, because he's the one who I imagine there's no way Neil doesn't get an interview. Right? If you're the Stars, you at least owe it to yourself for Neil Graham to get an interview. And I think Neil Graham will probably be on this coaching staff. If I had a crystal ball, I'd guess that.
Ooh, that's interesting.